Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Katie here, and I hope you are doing well wherever you are in the world. Christchurch, it's actually a really beautiful day today. The sun is shining through the window and I had the door open, and yesterday it was snowing and 0 degrees. So you never know what you're gonna get in winter in Christchurch, but not the reason why we're here today. Today, I want to talk about our most recent trip to Sydney. I guess our only trip to Sydney. Don't know why I said most recent. But I guess Keaton's there right now in Melbourne for work in Australia, not Sydney. But anyways, so that was our very first time in Australia. So it took us a year to get across the ditch, but well worth the wait. And I don't think it will be the last time that we're back or we're there. I don't know what I'm saying. Here we go. So we had friends from our performing arts college that live in Sydney. So we went to go visit them, and kind of what stemmed to going to visit them was, if you've seen my videos of the mistakes that we've made, I had a flight credit that I had to use by June because we booked my original flight to New Zealand under my married name, but my passport and my visa were still in my maiden name. And so I now have gotten a new passport and gotten my visa updated to my married name so that I could use the flight credit. But, oh my gosh, what a trick. I had to use the credit on a one-way ticket because that's what the ticket was originally booked with. So long story short, I ended up in business class because that was the only way we could spend the full amount of money in one go. Otherwise, we would lose it. So I got the royal treatment in business class. Holy cow, did I feel like I did not belong. You got champagne on entry, and I mean, everyone that was in business class, they had to know that I didn't belong there and that it was a clear mistake that I was in their presence. But oh my gosh, the food, incredible. The service, incredible. They handed you a warm towel, offered to make you a bed even though it was a 3-hour flight. The menu, oh my gosh, I'll just put pictures of the food because it was amazing, and I probably will never fly in business class again because it's so expensive. We need to get Keaton in a business class flight to Australia or from Australia or somewhere so he can get to enjoy it as well, because at least once everybody, I think, should do it at least once, even if you have to use a mistaken flight credit or heck, your airline point. You don't have to pay for it all. But it was wild. And it was a start to a very good trip. So Keaton and I actually ended up on separate flights because of that. So we met in the Sydney airport, which I thought was hilarious. Customs getting in to Sydney, easy peasy. I went and scanned my passport. Nobody really asked me anything, which maybe is not good, but was very different from coming back into New Zealand. Everything is checked for biosecurity, which I thought would be the case in Sydney too, but it really wasn't. So that was interesting. Keaton, I think, got into the wrong line because he said he had to wait quite a bit to get through customs, and he was questioned and things like that. So I think he went into the wrong line, but I read directions and went through the right line and got through easiest customs situation that I've ever been in. But the night that we got to Sydney, we took a train into the city and met our friends there, and we hadn't seen them in 4 or 5 years, I think. So it was so great to see them, and one of them is from Nebraska, which is where we're both from. We didn't know each other prior to our performing arts college, but he just is a friend that feels like home, you know, since he's from the same state and similar area. So that was really great to see them. And then we went out to a couple of bars. We had our carry-on suitcases with us, so everywhere we went, we were just like, sorry, excuse me. We got to stay with them for the first couple of nights, so we went back to their house, and it was just so cool to see. Like, they had bought a house in Sydney, and it's so cool to see your friends like thriving and in their home that, you know, not many people from home have seen. You know, like when people come to visit me, it makes so much of a difference to, you know, have somebody that you've known from your past in your new life. And so I think that's how it felt for him as well. But anyways, the next day we got up and went to the Featherdale Wildlife Reserve and had the best time. We had purchased the Koala experience, and so we got to go into a little area where there were 3 koalas, 2 mamas and a baby, and the 2 mamas had koalas in their pouches that were like ready to break out any day. And so we were hoping that we would see something peek out, but we didn't. But we could pat them on their little butts, and they are so soft. And we couldn't touch the youngest one because she was still getting used to humans. So it was good for her to be around humans, but not to touch. But she kept just like reaching out. You could tell she was so curious. And we just got the most incredible photos, learned so much about them. The handler, the caretaker, you could tell how much they knew about them. The sun keeps coming out behind these clouds. Sometimes it's fine and sometimes it's not. But you could tell how much they cared for them and how much they loved them, and that the koalas and all of the animals at the reserve were taken care of very, very well. That was an experience that I will never forget because they just, they were just so cute. From there, what did we do? We went to Bondi Beach, which was so fun because I have a friend from home that is a big fan of Bondi Rescue. I've never seen it, but so I was taking pictures of the beach and sending them to her. Beautiful beach, very busy, very busy. But we went to the shops, you know, along the way, and the beach is one of my favorite places to go ever. So just got to enjoy that. Keaton took off all of his clothes except for his underwear and just ran into the water. And I was like, you're gonna be cold, because it was cold. And one of our friends had this like tiny little towel like this big, because of course we didn't plan on going into the water, but you know, Keaton is a goose. So he had to like dry himself off with a towel this big, and he's just a silly, silly boy, and then was very cold. The next day, we went to the aquarium. So once again, animals, very, very busy. So very much popular attraction. So enjoyed the aquarium, and then, we got a backstage tour of the aquarium as well. Almost forgot that. After we left the aquarium, we walked around the harbor, of course. I mean, you can't go to Sydney without going to the harbor. That would just be silly. And of course, seeing the Sydney Opera House and the bridge that's there. I mean, everything that's iconic, I feel like I don't even have to explain because it's just a must see. And I feel like if you go to Sydney, there's no way you can't see it. It was also vivid at the time that we were going. So that evening there was like light shows and different places that you could go in the city to see different lights. And that was really cool. We didn't know that was going to be on. And so when we were there, we were just like, this is really cool. And they projected lights and things on the opera house and put it with music. It was all really cool. It was really cool. So it was a really great time to be in Sydney. That night when we were like watching the show and everything like that, the harbor was packed, like jam-packed. Like, I've been to Disneyland on Christmas Day and this was like that packed. Like, you could not get through people, and we like lost each other a couple of times and then like tried to find each other because there was just so many people. And there is the opera bar. I'm not gonna have the name right, but there is a bar on the pier, like right by the opera house, and they weren't letting people down to it because they had reached max capacity, and like people were coming out, but they were still like, no, like you can't go down there, just stay up here, kind of a thing, probably just so they wouldn't get too overwhelmed on that level. And we had talked to the security guard, and of course we have an American accent, and so he's kind of asking us where we're from and just chit-chatting a little bit since we couldn't go anywhere and we were super close to everybody. And he's like, oh, when do you have to leave Sydney? And we were like, oh, we gotta leave tomorrow morning. And he steps to the side and he goes, go ahead. And we were like, what? Are you serious? So super nice. So we went down, got a drink. There was actually plenty of room down there, but I understand safety, everything like that. They were trying to not overwhelm that area. But we watched the light show from down there with a drink. So nice. Such a good night. Overlooking the harbor, overlooking the bridge and the opera house. It was just the coolest night. That night, we actually stayed in the city rather than with our friends. And I'm really glad we did, just to have like one night in the city that we could stay out super late, kind of walking around, and then wake up in the city and have breakfast and just be kind of in the middle of the hub of it all. It was really great. The next day was actually the day we were leaving, but we had a late afternoon flight. So that morning we went on a like harbor cruise, which we love doing those kinds of things. We love learning about like the history of the city, and there's such like fun facts, and the person that's on the microphone is usually funny, and we got food, and it's just a cool way to see the city and the harbor in a way that we wouldn't have been able to on foot. And we got to see so much more than two, because it was a 2.5 hour cruise, and so it, you know, went kind of everywhere, saw different places that we hadn't seen before. And we actually started chatting with the gentleman that was on the mic, and he was actually from Christchurch, lived near where we live now, and like told us bars to go to and things like that in Christchurch. So that was really fun. It's always fun when you find someone that you have something in common with and you can just chit chat. But we got some really, really great photos, and that will also be a core memory. It started to rain at one point, and I still like went up to the top to see the opera house from the top level of the boat, because I was like, I can't be this close and miss it, kind of a thing, like while on the boat. Of course, we had went right up to it when we were standing on the harbor, but just being able to kind of take it all in and see the city behind it, and in all of its glory, all of its beauty, was really, really cool. Then we had to leave for the airport, and honestly, it was such a quick trip. I think it was 4 days, like left on a Friday, came back on a Monday, kind of a thing. And it's just so cool that we could really just pop over and pop back for a long weekend, like just go to a different country for a weekend and come back and see friends and be fulfilled that way. There's the sun again. It was just really cool. So it was not the last time that we'll be over there, for sure. Keaton, like I said, is in Melbourne as I speak for work, so he's getting to explore just a little bit, and I should have gone with him. I'm so silly I didn't go with. Yeah, Australia is a really cool place, and I've only seen one city, so I'm excited to see more of it. There's really the sun. Ah. We are headed back to the States in a couple of weeks for one of my best friend's weddings, and we are so excited to see our family again after over a year of being away. It'll be a little bit weird to go back home, but no, it's not home because this is our home now, but of course that will always be a piece of our home. We'll be going from our winter to their summer. I need to pack still. I'm like, oh, I need to pack like clothes for it being warm and humid. In Nebraska, in August and September, temperatures are high, humidity is high, and it's going to be very different than what we have been experiencing here. But it'll be great. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.